love your husband, but when he reaches for you, you have no desire. You have prayed about it, you have gone to counseling, you have tried harder, and every single day you carry the guilt of knowing what a faithful wife is supposed to want and not wanting it. The guilt is real, but the cause is not what you think. After working with thousands of Christian women in perimenopause and menopause, I hear it all the time. I love my husband, but I have zero desire and I feel terrible about it. And in almost every case, the answer is found in their labs, not in their marriage. What I keep finding was a deficiency that had nothing to do with love, faith, or attraction. I am going to show you exactly why relationship counseling falls short for this specific problem. What is actually happening in the body when desire disappears, and how to tell whether this applies to you. Point 1. What the relationship problem label actually covers. You're probably watching this because desire disappeared and everyone pointed you toward your marriage. When two people are disconnected, when resentment has built up, when communication has broken down, desire goes with it. That makes sense. Your counselor, your pastor, your doctor, they were all trained to look there first. When someone you trust points to your relationship, you believe them. The problem is that explanation only fits when the relationship is actually the source. It does not fit when a woman generally loves her husband, her marriage is otherwise fine, and the desire just vanished one day in her 40s with nothing changed between them. Something turned that switch off, and nobody has been looking for what it was. You spent years fixing something that was never broken, and that means the actual cause has been running untouched the entire time. Every book, every counseling session, every hard conversation with your husband, none of it could fix what it was never aimed at. The answer is somewhere nobody sent you to look. But what actually turns that switch off is something most women have never been told exists in their body at all. Point 2. What is actually happening when desire disappears? When desire drops off, most women assume it's emotional, something in the relationship cooled, something their stress level went up. It seems like the obvious explanation. It is not. Testosterone is the hormone that drives sexual desire in women. Most people think of it as a male hormone. It is not. Women need it too, and when it drops, desire does not just decrease gradually. For many women in their 40s, it shuts off completely. The mechanism is straightforward. Testosterone levels begin declining in women around the age of 30 and continue dropping through perimenopause. By the time she's 43 or 47, her testosterone may be a fraction of what it was a decade earlier. On top of that, when estrogen drops, the tissue changes too. Dryness, discomfort, and a nervous system that is already dysregulated from low progesterone. So the desire is gone and the physical experience of intimacy becomes uncomfortable. Both of those things are happening at the same time for a biochemical reason, not a relationship one. You cannot willpower your way back to desire when the hormone that produces it has run out. There are 3 questions that tell you whether this is your situation. You can answer them right now. Point 3, how to tell if this is actually your problem. Let me ask you, did your desire disappear or significantly drop off in your late 30s or 40s without a specific event in your relationship that explains the timing? Would you describe your marriage as otherwise healthy, meaning you generally love your husband, you are not holding on to active resentment, and you feel connected to him outside of physical intimacy? Have you tried addressing the intimacy issue through prayer, conversations with your husband, or counseling, and the desire still has not returned? If you answered yes to 2 or 3 of those, the picture looks like this. A woman who is fully committed to her marriage, doing the spiritual and relationship work, and still feeling nothing. She is not withdrawing. She is trying. She is showing up. The desire just is not there. This is not a marriage feeling. This is a body running on empty. If your situation matches this pattern, the relationship explanation has been sending you in the wrong direction the entire time. The correct approach is not complicated. Once you hear it, the guilt tends to dissolve fast. If you are watching this and connecting dots that nobody has connected for you before, this is exactly the kind of content I put out every week. Real answers for Christian women who are done being dismissed, misdiagnosed, or handed a label that does not fit. Subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. Point 4. The real problem. Low libido in women over 40 is almost always a testosterone deficiency. In many cases, it is layered with low estrogen, low progesterone, or both. They are not reproductive hormones that only matter for fertility. They are hormones that drive desire, energy, physical comfort, and emotional resilience. When testosterone is depleted, desire does not just soften, it disappears. And when estrogen is low on top of that, intimacy becomes physically uncomfortable, which creates a second reason to avoid it that has nothing to do with attraction or love. The reason this gets missed is simple. Standard lab panels for women do not include testosterone. You have to request it specifically. And most general practitioners were never trained to think about testosterone deficiency as a driver of low desire in women. So it never gets tested. And because it never gets tested, it never gets found. And because it never gets found, the only explanation left is the relationship. In my practice, when I test women who come in describing exactly this pattern, low or absent desire, a loving marriage, years of failed relationship solutions, their free and total testosterone is almost always severely depleted. Not borderline, depleted. When those levels get optimized, the pattern I see consistently is desire returned, discomfort resolves, and the guilt these women have been carrying for years dissolves with it. I have watched this happen in couples who come in completely disconnected, not because the love was gone, but because the hormones were. When both partners get optimized, the reconnection is one of the most rewarding outcomes I see in my practice. When you identify the real cause, the trajectory changes completely. The guilt stops making sense because the problem was never a failure of faith or love. The relational work you have already done still has value, but now it has a foundation underneath it. A body that is functioning the way it is supposed to, producing the hormones that make desire possible. That is what was missing, and it is testable and treatable. The desire you have been praying back into your existence was never a spiritual problem. It was a lab value that nobody checked. This is one specific thing you can do this week that changes where you are headed. Point 5, the first step under the new map. Before your next provider appointment, write down 3 things. First, write down when the desire dropped off, not a vague estimate, the closest you can get to a month and year and what else was changing in your body around that same time. Cycle changes, sleep changes, energy shifts. Second, write down every approach you have tried that was aimed at the relationship, the counseling, the conversations, the books, and honestly rate how much it moved the needle on the desire specifically. Third, write this at the bottom of the page. I want to rule out a hormonal cause before I assume this is a relationship problem. I need a free and total testosterone test plus a full hormone panel including estrogen and progesterone. Take that paper to your next appointment and say exactly that. Most general practitioners have not had this conversation with a woman before. If they push back or tell you testosterone is not relevant for women, that is a signal to find a provider who specializes in hormone optimization. What you are describing has a testable cause. You deserve a provider who will look at it. You came into this video as a woman who thought something was wrong with her marriage or her faith. You are leaving it as a woman who knows the question that has never been asked about her body. One sends you back to the counseling room, the other sends you to the right lab test. The desire you have been missing has a cause. Now you know what to look for. If you recognize yourself in this video and you want to understand what hormone optimization actually looks like for women in your situation, go watch my video on everything Christian women have been told about HRT that is wrong. It breaks down exactly why so many women have been kept away from one treatment that addresses exactly what we covered here. That video is on your screen right now and linked in the description.